Greetings and welcome to the Friday 13th YouTube channel. This is going to be the last live concert review for 2023. So I'm going to be talking about a concert that happened at Sheffield Corporation on the 12th of December 2023. This would include Monastery from Hungary, also Atrocity from Germany, God Dethroned from Holland, and headliners Belphegor. Now this was a brutal death black metal gig to end the year. Now, the opening act, Monastery, were formed back in 1989 in Hungary, and the band would release their first demo back in 1990, which was called Way of Life. Now, this was followed by the band's debut album in 1992, which was called Far From Christ, released on Trottel Records. And with the success of the band's debut album, it wasn't long before the band would record their next album in 1994. This was called Postmortem Aggression End. Now, the band would release an album called Misanthrope in 2004. This was followed by the album Divine Domination. This was in 2022. And the band's current album, which is releasing this year, was called From Blood. Now, the band's current lineup would consist of Robert Kovask on drums, Christian Toth on guitars, would have Roland Kozvas on vocals. His father is the drummer. Fernik Toll on guitars. Zaza Bowles, his auntie on bass guitar. So that's a lineup for this Hungarian death metal band. Now, the band came across really, really well, and they played a very strong, brutal set. Now, the band opened up to a pretty good audience. They were playing very heavy death black metal with some hints of grindcore. Having listened to some of the Monastery albums, I have to say they're very much come across between Cannibal Corpse, Suffocation, with slight elements of black metal. The band played an impressive set, which lasted about roughly between 25 minutes and half an hour. And so the set list would be for Monastery, would be the intro. This would be followed by River of the Fallen Souls, Kill Chain, Bolt Thrower, Faceless Nothing, Pulled Into Stake, Dreadful Thing, Bleed, Divine Damnation. So that was the set list for Monastery. So if you've not heard the new album, it's called From Blood. It's released on Art Gates Records. It's a fantastic death metal album with slight elements of black metal. An interesting band from Hungary that have released 4 albums. Next up would be Atrocity from Germany. Now these guys are a very influential death metal band that have been around for many, many years. Originally formed back in 1985. Originally called the Instigators, and would be playing grindcore. The band would soon change their style to death metal, and they've been doing this ever since. The band would release their first EP called Blue Blood. This was released in 1989, in which this would see the band signed to Nuclear Blast Records, and they would release their debut album, Hallucinations. This album would be released in 1990 on Nuclear Blast Records and was a fantastic debut album for a death metal artist from Germany. This album would feature original and long-time frontman, Alex Krull, who's a fantastic vocalist. This debut album would also feature Matthias Rodner on guitars, Richard Scharf on guitars, we'd have Oliver Klassen on bass, and Michael Schwartz on drums. Also to note that this album was also recorded by Scott Burns in Florida, and if you've not heard Atrocity's early music, they're a cross between Death, Morbid Angel, and Nasty Savage. The band's second album, Tordazenstach, was released in 1992. This was a really brutal death metal album with very much technical, very much in the vein of Cynic, Watchtower, Death, and like I said, Nasty Savage. A brilliant follow-up to the first album, Hallucinations. This was released in 1992 on Rodin Records. In total, the band have released 11 albums, and the last 3 releases have been a trilogy. It's called The Occult, 1, 2, and 3. So the current lineup would be Alex Krull on vocals, would have Jaris Nargenis on drums, would have Mickey Richet on guitars, would have Andre Nosser on bass, and Luc Gebhardt on guitars. Now, the Occult albums, which is done in 3 stages, as some of you may know, are very heavy albums, especially the latest album, Occult 3, which is a fantastic, brutal death metal album. For me, personally, it's my favourite death metal album of 2023, alongside Cannibal Corpse. It's a fantastic, brutal album. If you've not heard it, like I said, it has got elements of Nasty Savage, but more so Cannibal Corpse and especially Malevolent Creation. Now, I've got to say that Atrocity played a fantastic set, an amazing set, considering that there were only a 4-piece on this tour. Unfortunately, bassist Andre couldn't make it, but the 4 musicians pulled it off, and it was a fantastic, heavy, brutal assault set. Now, I've not seen Atrocity for many, many years, but this band definitely mature and get stronger with age. They're fantastic musicians. They're playing some amazing music. So, if you, like I said, if you do like old school death metal brutality with technicality, Atrocity are one of the best bands out there. Now, Alex Krull is a fantastic frontman. He's been doing this for many years, and the rest of the musicians really pulled through, really shine through playing brutal music. It's just a shame that this band didn't go headline. They should have been higher up on the bill. So the set list for Atrocity would be Desecration of God, Death by Metal, Fire Ignites, Fatal Step, Necropolis, Bleeding for Blasphemy, Shadow Taker, Reich of the Phenomena. So that was the set list for Atrocity, who did an absolutely fantastic, brutal set. Can't wait to see these guys live again. They are fantastic live. And if you've not seen this band before, please do so. They're a fantastic live band. So please check out the current album. It's called The Occult 3, released on Massacre Records. A fantastic album, believe you me. Now, next to hit the stage would be Dutch death black metal band God Dethroned. God Dethroned were originally formed back in 1990 by original singer and guitarist Henry Slatter, alongside Hans Legastra on guitars. In 1991, the band released their debut demo called Christums. In 1992, the band would release their debut album, also the same title, Christ Hunt. Like any band, God Dethroned have seen some various lineup changes. So the band's current lineup would be Henry Slatter on guitar and vocals, would have Joran Pomper on bass guitar, David Meester on lead guitar, and on drums would have Frank Skolperut. In total, the band have recorded 11 albums, and with the band's current release, Illuminati, which was released in 2020, which was released on Metal Blade Records. Having listened to some of the band's earlier albums, such as The Grand Grimoire, which is more directed towards Invocator, Deadhead, Carcass, and also Massacre, the early material was more death metal, but nowadays the band are doing a mixture between death metal and more directed towards black metal. The current album, Illuminati, is very atmospheric and at times does remind me of Dimir Borgir, as well as bands such as Enslaved and Emperor. These guys were actually a fantastic band live, very brutal, very heavy and very in your face, but they played some fantastic music, some great vocals there by Henry, and the music was really brutal, very fast-paced, with some dark and melodic elements. Now, these guys roughly played about 40-minute sets, so I'm going to tell you what the songs were that the band played live. We'd open up with Villa Vampira, No Man's Land, Asmondavis, Spirit of, Beelzebub, Serpent King, Boiling Blood, and the last song would be called Nihilism. So that was the set list for God Dethroned, a band from Holland. Please go and check out the band's current album, Illuminati, which was released in 2020 on Metal Blade Records. The band are in the studio very soon recording a new album. Next up to hit the stage would be headlining act Belphegor. These guys are from Austria and were originally formed in 1991 under the original name Betrayer, with original bassist and vocalist Max, alongside guitarist Helmum and Isgard, and drummer Chris. In 1991, the band would release their debut demo, which was called Crucifixion, and also a demo called Unborn Blood. In 1993, the band would change their name to Belphegor and released a demo mixi CD called Bloodbath in Paradise. Now, in 1995, the band would release their debut album, which was called Last Supper, released on Lethal Records. In total, the band have released 12 albums. The band's current release is on Nuclear Blast Records, which came out in 2022, and it's called The Devils. The band's current album kind of reminds me a bit of early Samael, alongside Immortal. And the current lineup would be Helmuth Lethman on guitar and vocals, Sarah Panath on bass guitar and backing vocals, with additional live members, Martin Arasberger on guitars, and would also have James Stewart on drums. The band received an excellent response from the crowd and played a brutal, heavy black metal set. Guitarist Helmuth and vocalist did a fantastic job with his vocals and playing guitar, and so did the rest of the band playing a brutal, heavy set. At times it would be melodic and dark and atmospheric, but the crowd enjoyed the black metal set. All in all, it was a fantastic gig, playing a mixture of death metal and black metal between all four bands. I'm going to have to say I really enjoyed it. I'm going to tell you what the set list was for Belphegor. And so the band would open up with the song The Procession, Baphomet, The Devil's Son, Sanctus Diabolo Confoundimus, Hell's Ambassador, Conjuring the Dead, Pactum, Lucifer, Insectus, Vertus, Ascenerani Prayer, The Devils, Der Lichbringer, Curtain Dance Macabre. So that would be the set list for Belphegor. So all in all, a fantastic night, a great night to end the year for 2023 of death and black metal. So check out these guys live and also check out the other bands, folks. So folks, thanks for listening to this review and checking out my photos. Please leave some comments. Please share this review. There's going to be more albums, interviews, and live reviews coming for 2024. So all the best to everybody out there, and thanks for supporting Friday the 13th YouTube channel. Stay metal, stay safe, metalheads. Speak to you soon. Thanks for listening.